Is dirty bulking the secret to optimizing fast muscle growth? Well, keep on watching because I'm about to tell you. Let's go. Hi, I'm Alexa, sports dietitian, nutrition coach. Welcome to my channel. Great to have you here. So today we're going to be talking about building muscle. Athletes, they like building muscle, and obviously for good reason, but doing it correctly is key. And a general strategy for building muscle in competitive, well-trained athletes is via a strategy called bulking. But within the strategy of bulking, there exists a kind of a subset or a type of way of doing bulking called dirty bulking. So is this a secret weapon or is this bad news? Time to find out. So let's first start with explaining exactly what is bulking. So to keep it nice and simple, bulking essentially is a strategy of where you increase the amount of food you're eating to then be able to build muscle through having then enough calories to build that muscle. So then you might be wondering, what is this dirty bulking? Okay, well, what's dirty about it?
Naughty, naughty.
Well, dirty bulking is essentially a type of way of doing bulking where you increase your intake, you go into that calorie surplus by just eating anything and everything, and usually that involves eating high calorie, high palatable, kind of the classic junk foods, that sort of stuff, where you're just eating anything and everything just to build up your calorie surplus and build muscle at that time. So essentially the name comes from the notion that, there's clean foods and dirty foods, which if you know me well, you know that I don't like that, but that's essentially how that strategy came about. It's dirty bulking because it's bulking by eating all those foods that you shouldn't be eating in abundance. So then the question is dirty bulking a viable tool to build muscle correctly?
Hey, I got to know.
No, it's definitely not. And I'm going to explain exactly why. So the correct way of building muscle is implementing a plan that builds muscle while minimizing the amount of body fat you're going to gain. And keep in mind, realistically, when you're trying to gain muscle, you're going to gain a bit of body fat. It's just the way the body works. When you're eating more, you're going to gain some body fat. But you want to minimize the amount of body fat you're gaining and just optimize mostly the muscle growth. Now, I should just say that there is exceptions to this. There's certain sports like strength sports and, power lifters and those sort of stuff where maybe they're trying to gain mass in general. So, they gain body fat and they gain muscle at the same time. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. So think of that as a subset of athletes that doesn't apply necessarily to what we're talking about today. So yeah, back to the way you're supposed to correctly gain muscle. It's build muscle while minimizing the amount of body fat you're gaining. Well, dirty bulking doesn't necessarily do this. It just doesn't roll that way. And here are the two reasons why it's an issue, why dirty bulking is not the answer. Number one, it involves eating a large quantity of food that are not very nutritious and that shouldn't be eaten in that large of a quantity. They're simply not the healthiest options, so you should be strategically eating them rather than just eating them uncontrollably. And number two, and the main issue that I want to kind of illustrate with today, is that with dirty bulking, you're generally going to be gaining muscle. And if you're doing things correctly in terms of training and protein, all that sort of stuff, you potentially be gaining enough muscle, but at the same time, because you're going so high in that surplus and because you're eating a macro unbalanced diet, you're going to be also gaining a lot of body fat alongside that muscle as well. And that's not what we want. In other words, it can build muscle quickly, but it's going to build mass quickly in general. And that's not going to be conducive to optimizing your body composition. AKA, it goes against the rules of correct muscle building. But quick gains is good for me, Alexa. Surely, you may be asking that. You may be thinking that, something along those lines. You may be listening to this right now and going, but I want to gain muscle quickly, okay? Does it really matter that I gain a bit more body fat? Well, you might underestimate how much you're going to be gaining, but I want to explain exactly why that may not be the right goal for you. So let's say that you're trying to build muscle, okay? You're trying to build muscle and you decide to do dirty bulking. What then happens is then you put in the right training, you eat the correct protein, but you're eating generally just dirty bulking. You're just eating whatever, anything, everything. You're just trying to go into a very high surplus to gain mass quickly so you can build all that muscle quickly. That's what you're trying to do. And what happens now is at the end of that period, doesn't matter what it is, you then end up with a lot more body fat that you now have to lose and lean out to get to the body composition you want. So now in turn, you're thinking that you want a quick muscle gain. In actual fact, it becomes a longer journey because you've gained all that muscle, But now you have to lose that fat to get that right body composition. And in that meantime, there's going to be an effort in the other direction. You're going to have to try and minimize muscle loss. So you can't just rapidly lose weight. Otherwise you'll lose muscle that you've gained. And as you can see, it just makes the whole journey a bit more complex, maybe even a bit longer than it needs to be. On the other hand, let's say you did a normal bulking phase, which I'm going to talk about the specifics of the things you got to consider with bulking, is then you gain the muscle, maybe it takes a bit longer, but at the end of it, you've got a lot less body fat to lose, or the amount you've actually gained doesn't really affect you in your sport, and then you're happy with the way you look and feel and you stay there. You know, different people will have different outcomes here, so you can't compare yourself to other people. But generally, you can see what I'm saying here. With normal bulking, you might gain muscle, it may take longer, you may gain less muscle maybe, who knows, but you have less body fat than you have to lose. Whereas with dirty bulking, often what I see with athletes, hence why it's a mistake, is they gain a bunch of body fat with that muscle and then they have to lean out, and that can actually even make it a longer journey for them. So yeah, dirty bulking, not the answer. Instead, what you want to do is, I guess, a normal bulking phase if you're a competitive, well-trained athlete. And I'm going to explain a bit of, considerations, so to speak, considerations of normal bulking. Number one is a modest calorie surplus. Okay, you do not want to just be going for what you're eating to just eating a whole bunch more. Okay, you just want to be going a little bit more. Now I'm not going to give specifics because everyone was different and it's hard to say exactly what yours will apply, but obviously reach out if you want help with building muscle and if you want me to implement a plan for you. And number two is implement the plan gradually and strategically. And consideration number three is aim to build muscle at a rate of roughly 0.25 to 1.5% of your total body weight. Now this will depend obviously what that range is from, whether you're a beginner or advanced trained, athlete, all this sort of stuff will matter. So it just depends. But generally speaking, you can see what your lower and upper limits generally going to be. So there really is no kind of reason for you to do dirty bulking. There is no reason for you to rapidly gain muscle and at the same time rapidly gain body fat, because it's just going to not be conducive to the goals you're trying to achieve. And at the same time, it's not going to be even healthy. There's just too many unwanted side effects and potential health implications. So why do it? So as you can see, dirty bulking is not only unnecessary, it's also something that I discourage because it is a common mistake among athletes. A more gradual bulking method where you're increasing your calories by 200 or so, or whatever it may be for you, just as general ballpark figure, that's going to be better for you than just trying to jump up from where you are now to eating 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 calories more than you're eating. You're just not going to get the results you're hoping for. Start gradual and go from there. So what I want you to do now is tell me in the comments, okay, drop a comment below and tell me, how do you personally approach muscle gain? Obviously, if you're not someone that's trying to gain muscle or you've never tried to, then you can't probably answer this question. Feel free to comment what your goal is. But if you're trying to get muscle, I want to know, how are you approaching muscle building? And of course, if you want me to personally work with you to help you build muscle by building a customized bespoke plan for you while giving you the coaching and accountability you need to succeed long-term as an athlete and regain your competitive edge, well, I've got a 90-day coaching program now. I'm sure it can help you. So if you're interested in that, you can send me an email at alexa@theclimbingdietitian.com.au, or if you go into the description notes, you'll be able to find an application link where if you're ready to go, apply, we can hop on a call, see if you're the right fit, and then go from there. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. Okay, subscribe to the channel as well as ringing that bell so you can stay in the loop and be up to date whenever I drop a video, which right now is pretty much weekly. And like this video if it's helped you level up your nutrition and understand muscle growth a lot more. Stay classy. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.